Howdy all, this is Texas Gaming Industries here, and welcome to basically the final episode of my Let's Play Railway Empire. In the previous episode, we began to replace many of our aging steam locomotives with the new EMD E-series of diesel locomotives on both freight and passenger service on the main line. Those steam engines are still being used, but only serving the rural industries. So we basically have about 10 more years in-game before the transition to diesel power is done. So we basically made about $368,000 in this change, possibly due to the new diesels being much more cost efficient. St. Louis to Oklahoma City freight. That needs to be worked at. That's beer, that's lumber. So it's only carrying only a certain amount of cargo. Plus, the sawmills are not heavily optimized. How many trains do I have on this line? Only one. That cannot do. I need to get another. I know I'm kind of cheating, but these are the only engines I can use right now. So to speak, the logging company is basically separate from my own. So while some of the other engines are rusting away, not so much for the log railroad. Speaking of which, there needs to be a passing loop up here for my these logging engines. So at least more logs can travel through this little woodland area. Another problem with these signals. I think from now on, I think there will be no more of these signals parking right in front of the main line. Connection bonus? Do these cities around here need cement? Let me see. Charlotte needs it, and so does Atlanta. Why not? Could bring me a little extra revenue anyway. Let's see. We'll just put in the 2662 Mallet to handle the cement traffic. No suitable freight available. Anderson Drill Hole to Albuquerque. Well, we might as well upgrade our refineries, upgrade our paper mills, and our weaving factories. But since this prairie is starting to become a little out of date, we'll probably start replacing that engine with the EMD series diesel. Because all the cargo that's being delivered to the city needs to basically have enough for it to grow and expand. So now, 77 units of gasoline. Where can I basically start transporting it? Well, Salt Lake City has only a 50% delivery rate. That is not going to work. So, wait, do I have a special freight running between Albuquerque? Yeah, I do. I have one. So I'm going to basically operate a secondary one too. Let's see, new staff, stoker, conductor. Station master, no bonus. No freelancer either. Any changes on my ticket prices? The ticket price between these two needs to be fixed. And I think that's basically it. So in hindsight, it's quite surprising that after 5 months, we were able to build a huge railroad company spanning from coast to coast using every type of locomotive imaginable and making ourselves so much darn money. So, before we finish the game, we're going to have a quick look at our stats. Ooh, we lost 1 million. That was possibly from the industry upgrades. Let's see. San Antonio is doing well on paper. What cities require newspapers? Odessa needs it, so does that. Do I have a freight train between these two? No, I don't. So a San Antonio to Odessa freight is definitely needed. And since it's not going to carry meat back, it doesn't need a refrigeration car. Now, the EMPE unit diesel is not normally used in freight trains in real life, but considering this is the only freight diesel locomotive in-game, there has to basically be the only time used on the railroad. Now, bear in mind, it would have been great if the developers of this game would have been able to basically add like a diesel switcher as well as the EMP-FT. That way, you have both a passenger diesel, a freight diesel, as well as diesel to serve rural industries. But c'est la vie. Weaving factory. The furniture factory needs lumber. Where's the nearest source of lumber? Oklahoma City. And it's not bringing enough lumber in anyway. Might as well upgrade it. The meat industry needs to be upgraded. So is the weaving factories. So what kind of freight is the other freight train bringing back? 3 loads of textiles. Hopefully, with those new trains, yep, we're starting to increase our production of lumber. That's good. And again, problems with the signaling systems on this area. Seems like almost every single part of the railroad has basically faced signaling trouble. But again, understandable. We made $170,000 profit. Let's see. So, I basically changed my mind again. So, this game will not end in 1960, but in 1955. Because that will basically be an appropriate year for the end of steam on our railroad. So, let's see. But, however, in the year before the age of steam will plan to be retired, we'll basically operate one special excursion train on the original transcontinental route from Portland all the way to California. And we'll basically have one tour, one ride on it to take a look and see how this railroad had changed completely. Add a stoker. Let's take a... But, again, let's have a look at some of the trains. Let's see how much we were making in each one. So, the lowest profit train so far is the Lopez Pitaluamuca 1. The highest profit is the North Transcontinental Express from Portland, Maine. From Portland all the way up to Seattle. That's making at least $29,000 with a passenger revenue of $2.5 million. The regular Transcontinental was our highest grossing train at one point. We're only making about 19 grand a month for this train. Stoker, getting security guard. Let's see. Any other industries that need to be looked at? Well, Portland needs... Let's just upgrade some of this so we can produce some more paper. And let's also buy this and upgrade it so more beer can be produced. Let's basically also upgrade the meat industry to produce more loads of meat. Let's see, Washington breweries. Let's buy those, upgrade it, and upgrade it. And for this, and for this. But actually, let's replace it with a newspaper Well, publishing, basically. Now, passenger service between Portland, Maine, and Washington is not going to be possible. But if it's a freight train, however, it doesn't matter which route it goes on. So, this will be the exception. so it's a special freight for this one. Put down the EMD diesel. So we'll pick up a load of paper and deliver it to Washington. Which, since there's already tons of paper already, we can basically grow the industry up a bit. Now that it's 1954, we might as well basically have a look at the entirety of the railroad. Let's see. Hang on. Here it is. So once this train returns back to New York, then we'll basically start our final run of the steam locomotive on this transcontinental passenger service, before eventually switching over to diesel at the beginning of next year. But it's kind of sad, really. This Let's Play was the biggest, well, the first one of several that it's going to be on this channel. Each one of them is going to be different. Some of them are going to be full of happiness, some will be full of sadness, some of them are going to be full of anger and hatred, and some with various different things. It seems like it's been a long time, but we finally received a new speed record. Our diesel has reached nearly 125 miles an hour. Let's see. An inventor, engineer, so. Hollow, no thanks. So, again, we'll basically tail the transcontinental train from, well, basically, well, you know, New York, all the way to San Francisco. And then we'll switch over to diesel traction all the way when it arrives. Now, the Reno is basically the exception because it's basically used as a publicity for the future, for the final steam-hauled passenger train on the railroad. Passing over the bridge, heading towards St. Louis. Made $1 million in company profit, that's good. It's 1955. This would be the last year of regular steam operations on the North Central. We'll wait for this prairie to pass by with a load of logs. Well, a load of grain, but it will just pass through because of the signaling. Like Market Crier, that's perfect. We'll basically start advertising the final steam-hauled transcontinental run between New York and the West Coast. That is, if this signals is not going to cause delays. We'll head towards Toledo, Ohio. Make its way towards Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Then, finally, after a little bit of a long pause right there, we take the track to the right and roll towards New York City. And the locomotive that was basically used for the passenger train between the east and west coast. Our first proper coast-to-coast passenger engine from the 1900s should be the 462 Pacific. She'll load up with passengers for the final run. We'll basically follow her trip between New York and Pittsburgh, New York all the way to San Francisco. It departs New York from Grand Central Station on the main line. It pulls on to the Portland, Maine to Pittsburgh line. There's tons of freight traffic left on the railroad, and most of the steam engines are starting to get too worn out to basically help with coping demand. Well, I mean, what I'm saying is, they are starting to not able to cope with big demand from their railroad. Well, you know what I mean. Steam engines are barely able to keep up with the current demands of freight these days, and the railroad industry is basically changing as a whole. Plus, we're almost reaching $500 million in company cash. Jeez, imagine what anybody can do with that sort of money. It'll drop off its passengers, pick up another load. Then it will travel towards Toledo, Ohio. It'll stop to let this sugar train pass. Franklin trod near Carson City. No thanks. Then it will pull into Toledo's Union Station. Once the track ahead of it is clear, $20,000. Then it will pick travel on the shortest distance between the cities, the East Coast, line between Toledo and St. Louis. Actually, not to St. Louis. Actually, not. I was thinking of the line that traveled through Chicago. This train will travel to St. Louis. It will take the Y track down towards the Midwest, primarily towards the area between the Midwest and the South. It will stop at a signal again because one of the freight trains has just broken down on the main line. The Limited will pass through us, well, the local passenger train. It will soon pull into the main station. We'll pull into the St. Louis Union Station, drop off passengers, pick up some more, along with fresh mail, and then we start heading towards the Midwest, with the cattle and, well, the meat packing town of Kansas City, where in the olden days, cowboys would bring their loads of cattle up to be taken away by rail to various cities to be processed into meat. Those days are long over now. The only way that people can see them is on television. It'll pick up another load of passengers and set off for its next destination, Denver, Colorado. Now, the Hudson in the Pacific is not capable of handling a long passenger train as this, because the coaches are a lot heavier than the Pacific is able to haul. That's the reason why there's this constant bell ringing, but I'm pretty sure it will stop once we reach the next station and able to continue on our trip. The train will stop to fill up on lubricants, oil, lubricants, water, and sand. Signal and finally pull into Denver's Union Station. Drop off the passengers, pick up more mail, and have a new crew on board, and then we'll head to our next destination, Salt Lake City, Utah. We lost 1.5 million, but it's near the end of the game, so nothing too serious. We used to stop at Casper, but since mail is no longer being traveled by rail in that area, we'll basically have to continue on our own. We'll also pass the railroad's oldest 280 active revenue service, and as we begin to climb the steep grades outside of between Salt Lake and Denver, we crest it, and we go around some swooping S-curves before finally going through a tunnel and going through a beautifully made horseshoe curve before rolling into Salt Lake Union Station. And Salt Lake is actually growing, which is basically nearly 120,000 residents. Oh, now it's starting to grow. Then it's growing again. Now it's back to nearly 120,000, which would basically be pretty soon. But we'll leave the city for now, as we head towards Winnemucca, passing through the Salt Lake salt fields, passing another freight train, still waiting for trackage rights, finally pulling into Winnemucca. Our crew will stay on the same train again, because this is going to be the shortest run between Winnemucca and Carson City, Nevada. Though we're have to be behind a slow livestock train, and we lost 1.4 million in company profit. Great. And surprisingly, we're in 1959 already. I said the game would end in 1955, but I guess I was wrong. It will drop up as passengers and mail, and pick up the final set of passengers and mail for its final destination, San Francisco, California. We'll basically travel in front of the locomotive. Well, basically on the side for the remainder of the trip, as we steamed through the railroad one final time before dieselization's full swing. But all in all, I'm really happy that you guys were able to follow me throughout this entire adventure, from our humble beginnings right until the 1960s. Now, Railway Empire it's not over yet for this series. I have plenty of other games to actually play in this game as well. There's the several DLCs, as well as the other expansion packs and custom-made scenarios. But in hindsight though, I'm gonna basically be doing another game pretty soon. I'll also be releasing a new trailer for the new game that I'm planning to do in the beginning of the new year, as well. Since Christmas is about to come up, I feel like I want to take a break from making videos until the beginning of the new year. So, the Pacific finally rolls into San Francisco, and finally brings the end of the Age of Steam to a close. And we only made $65. We click yes, 9 million down, and all of our trains are diesel power. But yes, that will basically conclude it for this series of Railway Empire. The vanilla variant, of course. I plan to do other Railway Empire related episodes in the DLCs in the future. But in all, I want to thank you very much for watching this series with me. And if you want to see more content from Texas Gaming Industries, be sure to subscribe and like my content, and stay tuned for a trailer for the next game I'll be playing on this channel coming up pretty soon, possibly next Friday. So this is Texas Gaming Industries saying thank you very much for watching this series, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!